My goal for this video is to take a step back from the multitude of how-to guides on YouTube and focus on what the pet can actually do for you. I want to answer the question, how useful are pets really in terms of convenience, quality of life improvements, and combat power enhancements? How do their skills work? How do you properly evaluate the power level of a pet? And how do they interact with existing systems of abilities? There are 3 sections to this video, and I will leave the timestamps in the description below. Section 1 is on the pet's impact on combat. Section 2 is the pet's impact on convenience. And Section 3 is my personal approach to pets as someone who is relatively free to play, who has only purchased battle passes over the last year. Section 1. How do pets affect combat? Pets are unlike any other type of summons we've ever seen in this game. In fact, it doesn't behave like a summon at all. Pets can trigger all abilities and effects that is normally only triggered by the player, which includes set bonuses, legendary gem effects, cursed properties, and ancestral bonuses. I was unable to test reforge bonuses, but it is my belief that it would trigger those as well, as long as the conditions are met. In this regard, it is much more accurate to think of a pet as your 9th legendary gem. If you have legendary pets with many legendary abilities, you can actually consider your pet to be a multitude of legendary gems. When you consider that all pets have a skill cooldown of 20 seconds, which lines up exactly the same as all new legendary gems which have 20-second internal cooldowns, the similarities are striking. You can even see the similarities between some of the active skills to existing legendary gems. The cat provides you with a shield every 20 seconds, similar to Frozen Heart. The Varrock provides a short burst of damage every 20 seconds, similar to Hellfire Fragments and other gems. The Raptor leaves a flame trail that provides burning, similar to the second half of the effect of Starfire Shard. Theoretically, a pet that has 1 active skill and 6 powerful passives is like having multiple legendary gems. And even though a pet does not provide you with resonance and combat rating, it does provide you with a number of passives that augment and boost your stats. In this following test, I'm using a pet that provides a continuous burning effect. I'm also using the cursed property Atrophied, which generates a dark field whenever I damage an opponent with a continuous damage effect. I'm also using the Ancestral Invocation that generates a Flame Hydra when I defeat an enemy, as well as the 4-piece set bonus Ankmit's Conflagration, which generates a burning debuff when I damage enemies. There are 3 important things to note here. Number 1, you can see the cursed property's darkened field on the ground. Number 2, you can see that the Ancestral Weapon's Hydra was created. And number 3, you can see that the enemies are burning from the Ankmit's set. I won't show you the clips, but I've ran this test with every familiar to ensure that all of their cooldowns are 20 seconds. I did discover some interesting facts during my experimentation. For some reason, this sand vortex effect does not count as a loss of control. I discovered this when I was experimenting with the curse property Detested. You will see in this test that the dark void from Detested is not created when my pet uses sand vortex. Another interesting fact is that the pet appears to inherit your crit rate. As you can see in this clip, whenever I have Holy Banner up, the pet's damage is always resulting in a crit. Here's a really interesting discovery. The skill description of the shield from the cat familiar is completely wrong. As you can see from the clip here, the shield from the cat acts very much like the nettled curse property. It reflects damage while it is active. It does not do what the skill description says. There are several pets with area of effects, but what I've discovered is that some of them have limited number of targets. This pet appears to be the worst of them, and as you can see here, it only hit a few targets before its effect expired. But ignore the damage numbers because Not all my pets are the same level. This one here is a level 1 pet. With that said though, this Skitterwhite is also level 1. Same rift level, same gear, and it does substantially more damage. And the area of effect doesn't appear to have a limited number of targets either. Maybe things will be different as you max them out, but at the low levels, it appears that not all pets are equal. And that concludes section 1 of this video. In summary, pets are very powerful indeed. They inherit your stats, such as crit rate. Unlike summons, they can trigger every effect, bonus, or ability that is normally only triggered by the player. They have the potential to get up to 6 powerful passive effects in addition to the active skill. Just as an example, there is a legendary passive skill that gives you a cheat death effect that is an improved version of Phoenix Ashes. Pets can boost your character's stats with passives and traits. So in terms of their impact to your combat, I would say that pets are incredibly powerful. It takes time to build a good pet. It is something we have to work towards slowly if we're free to play, but it is definitely something you don't want to neglect. Section 2. The pet's impact on convenience. This section is relatively straightforward. Pets provide 4 quality of life improvements. The first one is available to all pets by default, which is auto-looting. The other 3 improvements comes from the utility traits. These 3 utility traits are generated at random when you convert a pet. Unlike other traits, which require your pet to have certain attributes to activate them, these utility traits are active by default. Salvager gives you the ability to salvage items anywhere. Appraiser gives you the ability to identify legendary items and set items. And Pack Mule allows you to access the armory. Note that these utility traits are actually not available to you in every mode of the game. You cannot access them in Hall of Whispers, the Hall of Ascension, the Warband Castle, and pretty much any event mode, like Survivor's Bane, Fractured Plains, etc. These limitations actually make the Armory utility trait less useful, as you generally want to change your builds when you're about to do rites or vaults, and you wouldn't be able to do that when you're inside the faction halls. Personally, I find that the auto-looting function and the salvager trait are some of the most useful and best quality of life improvements this game has ever given us. Despite the random acquisition nature of these utility traits, there are no hard walls preventing you from acquiring them. It is only a matter of time before you would get all 3. For me personally, I'm extremely happy with the convenience that I get from my pets. And if nothing else, the quality of life improvement from the pet system is enough for me. Section 3. My strategy and my approach to pets. Here are my weekly priorities. First, buy all the weekly summon scrolls. Farm Spirit Essence to level up the white and blue undesirable pets. Once they're max level, convert them. Try to get all 3 utility traits. In order of preference, I like Salvage, Armory, and Identify. Any rare pets that I happen to summon or convert, I will level those to max level and use them as my main companion or to bond them. Once all 5 of my slots has been occupied by utility trait pets and rare pets with active traits, then I can start focusing on obtaining useful passives that are impactful in PvP. Here are some examples of useful passives. If you get lucky with some of these great passives, you can start to use the meld process to combine them into a single pet. However, personally, I don't plan to do this for at least a few more weeks. There's still too many unknowns about endgame pets. I don't want to make any irreparable mistakes that I will regret later. So for now, my strategy is to simply continue leveling, converting, and saving up my familiars until more is discovered so that I can find the optimal path forward while mitigating any risks. And that brings us to the end of the video. As always, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more.